Hey guys, Greg here, Bone Tactical. Today I'm going to be discussing with you guys how to move through urban environments during social unrest. And we've had a lot of discussion about this here on the channel. We've done some rioting videos about if you get caught in a riot, how to move through, what are some pointers, what's the best way that you can get in and get out of that situation. Of course, anytime you find yourself in a natural disaster situation or maybe political unrest, anything that might happen. Just recently we saw a candidate for the presidency of the United States was shot at, is what we were told, and definitely being in a situation like that as a civilian or near there, if there was unrest after that, it could have been a situation where you would have wanted to get out of there, and there could have been mass pandemonium, just because people tend to freak out when crazy things happen, right? It's kind of the natural order of things, and so that's also why I'm going to be sharing this video. Now, this video will be beneficial to everyone. It's not just for preppers, not just for people who, think that the end of the world is coming or isn't coming or whatever you may think. It's going to basically, I'm going to give you two super distinct scenarios. Okay, and you're going to either have to pick up one of two paths, and you're either going to choose the path of preparedness, and that's if you keep bug out or emergency preparedness gear with you. This is what I have over here is my Gray Man Operations Pack that I've carried personally for years. Okay, you can see it's old and weathered and washed, and I'm going to show you everything that's inside of there, and then I'm going to give you another perspective of how to do all this stuff if you're not a prepared person, if you don't have anything. Obviously, it's going to be more difficult to do if you're not prepared, but I'm going to take you through both scenarios. I'm going to show you what you need to do, why you need to do it, how you can do it. A bunch of super useful information. You might want to watch this video a couple times, get out a pen and paper, take some notes, because it's going to be a super in-depth video. From here going forward, I'm actually going to take you down to a city, and we're going to walk you through what to do in all of these different scenarios, step by step. All right. And I super prefer to be prepared. And the reason that I prefer to be prepared is because I've had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way. And I'm sharing that kind of stuff with you guys. Is why I want to share these particular subjects, is because it's something that I feel like I have the learning, knowledge, and experience to share. And I have been in some rough situations I had to get myself out of, in both in and out of the United States, where I either wish I would have had certain types of gear with me, or the gear with me had really helped me out, even saved my life. There's been times when something as simple, there was a time in particular when Cordage, just having some paracord on me, actually when I was out doing some hiking and climbing unprepared, and got into a situation where I had to use cordage to cross an area where if I had not had that cordage and would have fallen, I almost definitely would have died. So there's just situations that I'm calling from in my knowledge base to share this stuff with you guys. Now, this is not just the ultimate survival bag from Bone Tactical. I sell a survival kit, but this is above and beyond. This is what I actually carry in mine. And so if you do want the easiest way, that's why I pack and build and make survival kits and sell them on my website, because it's something that's already prepped, but they're not complete for you, right? They're the general basics that work for everybody. And then the final items need to be added for individual basis type stuff, because you might have certain medications that you need. You might have certain personal needs. Obviously I'm not going to sell an Apple iPhone in my bug out or emergency preparedness kit, but everybody on this channel uses a telephone every day. So you're gonna have some personal items that are personal to you. I'm gonna walk you through the process, and I'm gonna give you some brief introductions of what we have in this bag. So I'll tell you why it's in the bag, and then getting into parts of this video in the future, we'll also take a look at using this stuff out in the field. I do have an iPhone here. Something that is maybe not often considered is what we can take from certain, members of the espionage community. They'll use what we call burner phones, and a burner phone is a phone that can't be traced back to you. It's going to be a very small percentage of the population, or percentage of the people that are actually watching this video, that would probably find a burner phone useful. But you can buy an iPhone with, let's say, a Walmart credit card, gift card that you buy with cash, and then you can set up a Apple account that's not directly tied to you. There's so much in depth that you have to think about. If you actually want the phone to be a real burner phone, you've got to go to a public place where you're not being under surveillance at the time of using the IP address, because IP addresses are almost always traceable, even if you use like an Onion browser, which you're going to want to do anyway. It's a little safer. Everything leaves a digital footprint that we do electronically, as long as you're connected to the internet, right? And if not, you might leave a digital footprint on the device, and then if the device is found, then you find a digital footprint there. So there's a lot that goes into using a burner phone, but it is possible. These gloves are super important for disaster preparedness, because how many of you guys watching this video dig ditches every day, or build shelters every day, or swing an axe every day? Pretty much nobody's using their hands so much that they're going to be used to that type of work, hard labor. And if you had to do it, you'd very quickly get blisters. And then those blisters, if not just annoying, are also, they pose a health risk for infection. So I always carry a pair of gloves. Those particular gloves come with the emergency preparedness kits that I sell on my website. This is a ghost knife, so we do discuss briefly going into the future how a lot of people may think that they want to have all this crazy military gear, but if you're really in a civil unrest situation and you're trying to move through a city, there's going to be a lot of people around you, and you don't want the people around you looking at you having a gun or body armor, and that's going to draw a lot of unnecessary attention to yourself. And if you did have to go through some sort of a military checkpoint or something like that, or if you had to walk through a metal detector, if you got wanded, because, I'll give you an example. There's places in the U.S., certain times, downtown Tampa, Ybor City, that are known to be dangerous areas. There was a huge shooting there not long ago. Beale Street in Memphis, which is like a big party area where they're known for kind of like a dangerous crowd. I went there a few times when I was in college. And what do you have? You have police checkpoints where there's police wanding people just so you can get onto the street. And that is not far-fetched for a scenario, post-Katrina that was happening, right? If there's a natural disaster, it's very likely that the police are going to set up roadblocks or retention points, whatever you want to call them, and wand people. They're not going to be able to check everybody, pat downs, stop and frisk for every single person, but having something like a ghost knife might mean that you have a weapon when nobody else has one. So just a lot of stuff to be considered, and I do discuss in the future security, and I do talk a little bit about why that rifle you think you're going to be running around with in the zombie apocalypse may not necessarily be the best choice, and it may not be actually how it goes down. Just something to keep in mind. This is a little bottle of cologne. This isn't necessarily a bug out bag for the end of the world. This is a bag that I use every day. I have a headlamp right here. This headlamp is super useful. It's got red light feature, which I highly recommend, because it allows me, if we're talking about getting out of the city, we might want to be moving around at night, and the difference between being able to use a red light capability versus white light capability means that you're not going to be seen from a mile away instead of being seen from like only a couple hundred yards away. It's possible to use red light, and also red light is possible to use without killing your natural night vision. So if you just switch your red light on real quick and you're looking around, and you have to do something that you need the light for, and then you turn it off to be able to move through the city at night, which is super useful to be able to move without having a light on. And what happens when you turn a night light on is you lose your natural night vision for 30 minutes or more, and that means that somebody might be in the shadows on the fringes of where I'm moving, and I might not see that person, or a dog that's, a rabid dog. It could be anything that you don't see. So it's very important that we understand, and like I say, this comes with the Bone Tactical Kit with a charger, rechargeable, super important function, but a headlamp is crucial, hands-free, and then that red light function is a huge deal. For those of you that can't afford full night vision setups, it's the way to go. And then also something to consider about full night vision is you have to look at the power dynamic in a grid down or civil unrest or natural disaster, whatever you're looking at the problem, the emergency situation is, who has the power and control? It's probably not going to be you. You're not going to be the president of the United States during a government fall, and unless you're in the military or a police officer, then you may not be able to be going around with night vision. And then if you do have night vision, you may be making yourself a target because somebody else wants that night vision if the rule of law has diminished in any way. So there's so much to think about here, and these items are there's so much thought that goes into these, and that's another reason that I sell the kit the way it is, because it has the basic minimum stuff. And then this particular bag has all of my medication, going to be mostly prescription and personal needs, but also anything medical that's outside of the medical kit that I sell. So what I recommend is carry your personal meds, and you can even add them to this bag, because this is it has extra room in the med kit. So if you wanted to, you could have your first aid kit that comes with all of my Bone Tactical gear, and then you add your extra stuff to it, or get your first aid kit from anywhere. The benefit to buying this stuff from me also is that it's quality, reliable, and then you get a better deal on it. If you have to buy all the stuff individually, it's going to cost you a lot more money than what I sell. I carry navigation is a huge deal. There's 3 different types of navigation in my backpack. Aids, navigation aids. We discussed navigation in the future, but there's a compass on the paracord bracelet that has a knife on here. So there's 2 knives that come standard with the bag. There's a whistle, and there's all this stuff that's on this bracelet. So I just keep the bracelet clipped on the inside. I don't wear it because of the real great man theory. I don't want to look like a super prepared person or like a crazy person either. I could walk around with a backpack with a big knife strapped to the backpack handle, or a tomahawk on my, carrying a tomahawk, but it doesn't aid me in being effective on daily endeavors, right? So there's a water bottle here. There's another compass on here. Now these little tiny compasses, guys, they're little tiny compasses. They're just kind of something extra. I'm gonna be honest with you. The water bottle compass, it's kind of an emergency general north direction thing. I wouldn't rely on it. The most important thing about the water bottle is, yep, you guessed it, it's a water bottle for everyday use. So it's a vacuum sealed, double layered stainless steel, super high. This is the highest quality thermos water bottle you can get. If you need to boil water in this, I recommend that you just poke a little hole in it. Just hit it with something and poke a little hole in it, because it is vacuum sealed double layer technology. It's made to keep your cold drinks cold and your hot drinks hot. And that's what you're actually going to be using it every day. But if you absolutely have to use this to boil water in to survive, then poke a little hole, because it's a double layer. Just a little pro tip. This knife in particular comes with the survival kits that I sell. And a knife is obviously a security thing. That one I use for starting fires as well. The kit comes with a fire starter and a knife. So we do discuss the importance of fire, but as far as moving out of the city, it's not as important as what you might think. What is super important for moving through civil unrest is, apart from your footwear, apart from having a good pair of socks, good pair of shoes, is these blister plasters. Because as soon as you get like a hot spot on your foot, as soon as you feel that you have some uncomfortable, that a blister might be coming, stop and put these on. Because you don't want to get your feet hurt when you're in a civil unrest situation, or when you have to move and you have to be covering ground quickly. You don't want to have that happen. So these blister plasters, they also come with the survival kits that I sell, and I highly recommend keeping either blister plasters or moleskin in your bag if you don't buy the kit from me. This is the compass. We discussed navigation. Now this is an awesome compass. This is the SOL compass. I bought it from them. I got a small discount on these, but I bit the bullet and bought the quality compasses. It's really important to have one good, super good quality compass, and that's why I include one in all of my kits that I sell. This is the fire starter that comes with the kit. So we've got tons of, there's an entire survival series here on my channel if you want to watch. There's one of the episodes is fire, and I go through and I do everything from scratch and discuss it all. So there's so much that goes into fire that I can't discuss all of it. What's in this bag and what this actually is a rain cover for the survival kit that I sell. And I recommend having a rain cover for your backpack. And the backpack itself doesn't need to look super tactical, because you want to be able to keep that low risk profile so you're not a target and so you don't look like a threat. So you're not a threat to the powers that be, and so you're not a target to the predators in your area that may be around you looking for somebody to rob. Or so there's both ends of the dynamic, and the Gray Man Operations pack that I have here fits into the perfect, right into that dynamic of not being a risk and not being an easy target. So when you do make it out of the city and into the rural environment, when you go from urban to rural, then you're not going to have a lot of people around. Then you're going to want to start using camouflage and trying to blend in with the foliage and all of that stuff. That's when the backpack cover comes in handy. Also, if it starts to rain, there's a waterproof backpack cover. You put it on your pack so your pack doesn't get wet. So there is a waterproof backpack cover that's camouflage in here, and you just take it out and you just stick it over your pack, and then your camo and you're waterproof. So I highly recommend. Also, those waterproof backpack covers can be used to collect water. They can collect rainwater. They can collect dew. They can be very useful for a big, wide variety of things in survival situations. Crucial to have. If you don't get the kit from me, get one. I told you that I would share with you how to be prepared without the stuff, and the first way to be prepared without the stuff is the mindset and the knowledge and the skills of how to do this stuff. And that's why in the future of this video, when we go out into the field, I actually go through and I show you guys what to do in those situations, and then I give pointers for if you don't have a compass, how do you get around? If you don't have this, that, or the other, how do you get around, right? So I highly recommend being prepared, but if you don't have the kit for preparedness, then you can start working on your skill set. And that's why you're watching this video, right? So that you can learn this stuff, and so you can be less dependent on gear and on having to buy stuff. The survival straw is a great way to just stop and be able to drink water with a straw out of any water that you pass. Water is such a big thing to consider. Clean water. I've got some socks in here. I threw these in from Fox River because I've recently been working with Fox River, and a good pair of socks is really important. So I'll put the link in the description below for where you can get this bag, where you can get those socks. A lot of the stuff, most of the stuff that's going to be in this video will be in the link below. If you can't get it from bonetactical.com, then I'll link it separately. The Fox River, I have a link for you guys to get that stuff from Fox River. This is a tent, so shelter's a big deal. This is also a signal device. It's unlikely that you're going to be in a full survival, escape, and evasion mode. You're probably going to want to have the opportunity to signal somebody to come help you or come get rescued. So you have this giant bright orange tent, and it can be camouflaged if necessary, but if not, it's a great signal device, and it's a Mylar blanket, so it can help regulate your body temperature. You just jump in here. If you don't have time to set it up like a tent and you're getting cold, you know, your body only needs to change in temperature a little bit to get hypothermia. If it's a cold night and you're wet, you could die from hypothermia. All you got to do is jump in one of those blankets if you're getting cold. Of course, if you live in a winter environment, you want to be prepared for that. As soon as this part of the video is over, we'll get right into the part where we discuss the shirt and the look for getting involved and actually going boots on the ground and getting through civil unrest. But right now, I'm just discussing what's in the bag. Just know that the El Sicario beige, which is what I'll actually probably almost immediately put on if I'm not, over the top of my gym clothes or whatever. So we've got cordage. Check out more survival stuff if you want to know about cordage. One really, really cool thing that comes with my survival kit is my survival manual, and it comes with it at no extra charge. You can buy it separately, but this survival manual is very useful because it goes through the entire survival scenario and teaches you about every single thing that you want to know, all in a neat, handy little package. So that's something else to consider, is having a pair of sunglasses in your bag. I've got headphones in here. I've got these flushable wipes are super important because you can take what you call a bird bath with them if you don't have a chance to take a shower. If you're really trying to get out of the city in a survival unrest or natural disaster, you can use these and do it quickly. It's all about speed and not making a lot of noise, stealth, all that. Flushable wipes are the way to go. We have food in here. Again, this is a multivitamin emergency food bar. Both of those items come with all of the kits that I sell, and it's so important to have food that is ready to eat, right? So I can, again, without making any noise, I can just break open that, and it lasts like 40 years, I think. I can just break that open and eat something. I can do it on the move. I can do it while I'm walking. I can do it while I'm being aware of my surroundings. I don't have to make a fire to cook. So super important, all of these little detail items. This is an electronics recharging kit that I keep with me. It has chargers and a battery bank. Something to consider. That's one of my personal things that I have in there. I have this as well that has bug repellent in here, sunglasses cleaner, Right in the Rain notebook, business cards, zip ties, just other stuff that I might use on a daily basis. And then finally I have some stickers, Bone Tactical stickers, and then I have a little hydration stick that I can put in my water if I want to go to the next level. I have a spork that comes with all of the Bone Tactical bags as well. Something a lot of people don't consider is when you do actually have a real meal or get a real meal, it's so nice to be able to use silverware or an eating utensil. And if you don't carry a fork and knife and a spoon around with you, that's one item that can be used for all of them, and that's why they come in my bug out bags. So, oh, there's a buff as well, little buff for face coverage. Same reason that we have the long sleeve shirt, and that concludes everything. Let's get right out into the field and showing you guys how to do it from a practical sense. Okay. Pedestrian crossing, pedestrian crossing. Hello? Huh. The real gray man theory, as I teach it, is about utilizing and being aware of your mannerisms, what you're wearing, the way you're holding yourself, walk, talk, everything like that. Being aware of what you're projecting to the world around you, both to predators and to those in power that may be judging the way that you look to see whether you're a threat or not, or whether or not you're an easy target. So often one of the most underutilized and misunderstood or overlooked ways of being able to get out of social unrest or maybe any kind of natural disaster or rioting, just the city in general, just being able to move through urban areas. What people don't look at is you want to be moving quickly, right? You want to be able to cover a lot of ground, and you don't want to draw unnecessary attention to yourself. What about a bicycle? Okay, workout clothes. That's what people don't think about. If you see a guy running by, obviously, and we discuss this so much on the channel, anybody and any time that you have a plate carrier or, you know, a rifle slung, military gear, obviously that's not going to be what you're going for. Obviously that's going to attract unwanted attention. Potentially anybody out there with a precision rifle could just take you out and take your gear. So a lot of these guys, you know, on YouTube are teaching, oh, well, the 511 shirt and the 511 pants and everything, you know, typical gray man, the backpack that, you know, and all this stuff is just brand new, prepped gear, stuff that's still very typical. Even going to REI and getting all of your civilian hiking or camping gear is still going to present the same issue of looking like a prepared person. And if you're riding a bicycle at a high speed with all of your heavy gear on, and if you're either running or moving quickly or darting and dodging through town, or you're riding a bicycle and you have all this fancy gear on, this $500 fancy hiking backpack, and you know, all of this super high-speed operator equipment, it doesn't matter if it's a Molly backpack, it doesn't matter if it's military looking, you're just gonna look like, hey, that guy probably has money, that guy's going somewhere, he's in a hurry. You're gonna draw attention to yourself in that situation. You're gonna draw attention to yourself from the powers that be, right? You've got to look at things from the standpoint of, if you're in survival situation, if you're in social unrest, you're going to be the insurgent. Even military or law enforcement might be looking for you. You might have to escape and evade them. So what does that mean? Well, you know, you might have to escape and evade the blue helmets. Name your scenario. But whoever you're having to escape and evade, it's not going to be the best idea if you look like a high-speed operator, even if it's your Solomon shoes and your, you know, 511 tactical fancy stuff, right? Even if it's not the plate carrier and all that. All of those are kind of the wrong way to go. We do have the El Sicario lineup from Bone Tactical that helps a lot. We'll get into that here in the future. But right now, one of the biggest and best ways that I'm showing you to cover large amounts of space, to cover large distances quickly, is with workout gear. You can look like you were just out on a run when SHTF. So that's great. Obviously, you have to be in some sort of a semblance of being in shape, but you've got to be in some sort of a semblance of being in shape if you want to have success in any kind of an SHTF, or really in any kind of a situation where you're trying to escape and evade. So physical fitness is necessary, and it's a baseline for something that we're definitely going to need to know and have. And then if you're the prepared person, you'll have your bug out bag, go bag ready to go as well. Stay tuned, and we'll get right into more useful information coming very soon. An alternative to utilizing your gym clothes to get out of town and utilizing that look would be this look right here. The real gray man theory of choice today and now is changing into the El Sicario covert concealed carry shirt. Now over here on this side, I'm going to show you, there is a very popular downtown area. We've got people walking all over the place, and this is a area where there's just a happening crowd, and I have to run the balance between that and this area where I'm standing right now, where there's homeless one street over. Why would you want to utilize this look that I have on right now? Well, you might have to get to your family. You might have to get out of the city. And I have been caught in and out of rainstorms. I've gone like 15 miles already. I'm really getting into it and trying to show you guys the real deal of how this can really be done. Now, I have the ghost knife on, and why is that? Well, a lot of people are gonna say, hey, you know, you need to have this AR-15 with your plate carrier slung and all this other stuff. But the truth of the matter is, you need to understand that if you're in this situation, what is the power dynamic? The power dynamic is that I am not in power. I'm not a military guy. I don't have military backing. I don't have government funding. I don't have a QRF, quick reaction force, coming to save me. There's nobody coming to save me. And that means that I need to go around not drawing too much attention. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skirt the boundary right here between where the homeless people are hanging out and then where the fancy people over here are getting all their stuff done. And I'll walk over there in a second, but what you guys need to have is a plan, and you need to understand the cultural significance of where you're at so you can move through from point A to point B without having problems. Is there going to be obstacles? Is there weather conditions? Might it rain? Is there a huge overpass right here? Do I need to get on the other overpass, or is this overpass going to be shut down, impassable? How can I get around from point A to point B? So all of these things are questions. What is going to be, who are the powers that be? Is it police, right? Military? Is government in control? Is there roving gangs because law and order has completely failed? How can I make it through without having to go on full confrontation and fighting every person or group of people that I come across? You need to be honest with yourself about your skill set, about how many people are traveling with you in your party, your skills and abilities, those around you, what you're equipped for, what kind of gear are you carrying on your person right now? Do you have enough gear, and do you carry that gear everywhere you go every day? These are all things that have to be considered. Like I say, this right here, I'm right on the fringes of a really popular downtown area over this way. Now, if there was a big fallout, I know that these people over here behind me, this is hipster capital St. Pete. These people are going to be losing their minds. They're not squared away people. There's a lot of people in that area. And how would that situation change in a natural disaster? If a natural disaster hits right now, that's all stuff that I'm going to have to consider. And over here where I'm talking about right now, there's some woods right over here. Let's go check it out. I bet there's an area right in the middle of that to lay low. So like I say, I just briefly, 2 seconds looking around, I noticed, okay, that's enough cover for me to get in there and for me to change if I need to change. I can completely change my outfit because we'll get into here what I have in my bag here in a second. And these people, you saw this lady just drove by and she was oblivious. She didn't see that I was even standing here, let alone do people notice that somebody has their stuff stashed in here. Okay, so there is somebody's bag with their stuff in it, and people just walk by. That's really all you need for 90% of people, just that little bit of separation between the actual what's going on in plain view and then just a little bit off the beaten path, and 90% of people aren't going to recognize that. So I've got somebody that even has their stuff stashed. If I go over just a little bit more, you can't even see through here at all, and it might even just be a few feet of space, but that's all I need to duck into there and change. Especially with this shirt, the shirt that I have on, I can get some dirt or mud, and the reason that the El Sicario comes in beige is because I can just streak dirt or mud on here and I'm camouflaged like that. Okay, so everything is thought about. The reason that the Gray Man Operations Pack is the color that it is, and that it comes with a backpack cover. We'll get into all that stuff, preparedness stuff. Right now we're gonna start getting into how to move through that environment. So if somebody's following me, I wanna get in here and change the way that I look. All right, that's the reason that I would have this shirt with me, and then, or a different shirt. So I get in here and I switch up my look, and right off the beaten path, super busy downtown area. That's all I need right there. 2-minute walk from where everybody's hanging out and partying, and homeless people over here. And then right here, I have an area where I could have something stashed. Somebody's got their stuff stashed right there. I'm not even gonna open it or go through it. It's just not the right thing to do. But all bets are off where civil unrest and people are wild and out of control, right? Let's continue on to the next spot. So this behind me is a major sporting event. It's a Rays game, Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and there's about 1 million people here. A ton of people, I don't know how many, but there's a lot of people here, and this is exactly what you want to stay away from. But I'm on a bike trail right here, and the bike trail is a really good idea that I think a lot of people don't necessarily consider, because your major traffic interstates, like there's a major interstate right down there, I-75, is going to be blocked up probably in any kind of a emergency situation, and the worse it gets, they might actually be out of commission just because of so many people left their cars right on the interstate. That's what tends to happen in a really bad situation. So I don't see any signs here that say that I'm not allowed to be here, so I'm going to sit over here and do a video because it's a little cool spot and there's nobody else over here. But I'm right in behind the stadium here, and like I say, this bike path that we have here behind me is something that's a good idea to consider as far as the means of transportation. You know, it's paved, you know it's a good trail, you know where it goes, where it starts and where it ends, you know what's along it, and it's not big enough for cars, so it's not going to be blocked up in an emergency scenario. I'm going to bust out the survival manual here, and we're going to discuss the rule of threes: water and fire right now. But survival, escape, and evasion are going to be your big points now. Now we're going to get right into the meat of things, and I could obviously do an entire video series, and I have here on the channel. There's an entire survival playlist, and there's survival, escape, and evasion playlist, but they go hand in hand. You have to survive to escape and evade. Your escaping and evading is a lot of the stuff we've already hit on, and it's not, unless you're in a completely rural environment, it's not about going unnoticed. It's about not being perceived as a threat and not being perceived as a target. So we'll get right here into the survival guide. Okay, you guys know what the survival guide is. Hit on some real quick survival basics here at the beginning about being realistic about your abilities, carrying only what you need to carry, stuff like that, having different bags. We'll go through a prepared scenario and then a non-prepared scenario. If you are prepared and you have this, then you're gonna want to consider water and fire as, you know, things that you might have to, you're gonna have to obviously be drinking water. And if you don't have one of these kits on you, then you can look around for water sources in your area. Be very careful drinking standing water. You're probably gonna want to boil it. That's where fire comes in. But really, if you're trying to get out of the city, you're gonna want to do all this stuff. You're gonna want to be on the move, and I highly recommend keeping water with you at all times. Just keep a big water bottle with you at minimum, and so then you don't have to worry about water. So that's where the rule of threes comes in. And the rule of threes is that you can survive 3 minutes without breathable air, 3 hours subjected to extreme temperatures without shelter, 3 days without drinking water, and 3 weeks without food. So in the circumstances of getting out of a civil unrest situation, you're only going to really need to worry about food on the run. And one thing that is often overlooked is dumpsters, right? And these big areas where there's been a lot of people at a sporting event, they'll always have food in the dumpsters after. Any kind of Publix, any kind of grocery store, any kind of supermarket, they throw away all the expired foods. You're going to have, there's not going to be limited food supplies necessarily in the city right when things kick off. So you just have to kind of know what you're looking for. A cool little game that you can play with yourself is, as you're going through your daily normal life, try being aware of your surroundings. And nobody is, right? I walk around and I see people just in a daze everywhere that I go, and they're all, you know, such easy targets. Just being aware of your surroundings is a night and day difference between 90% of the people. So we're gonna move on to the next location. Stay tuned. Another little interesting thing, guys, is where I'm standing at right now, where I just shot that video, probably isn't an area that you're supposed to be, but because of the way that I'm dressed and the way that I look, and there's a cop right over here, there's a cop right over there, 2 security people, or people that work here, walk by. Actually, like 4 people that work here in total walked by while I was making the video, and nobody said anything. And that has everything to do with the way that I look. If I was, you know, maybe looking like one of these homeless people out here, or if I was looking like a threat, then it probably would have been a different scenario. Now, security and tools. I am probably not going to want to be right on the beaten path if I am not moving extremely quickly. If I'm zipping right through there, then I could probably be on the beaten path because it's allowing me to have the ability to move very quickly. What I'm most likely going to be doing is moving slowly and using as much cover and concealment as possible, and kind of being right off the path, utilizing the path as a navigation tool, and my super situational awareness. What's my biggest tool in my tools chest? It's not anything that I have in my backpack here, believe it or not. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with having the AR-15 we talked about. Everybody's advice on how to get out of an urban rioting or civil unrest situation is to have your plate carrier and your AR-15 and cut a path through the rioting. That's literally the worst scenario. Those people are not going to make it out. You have to think about the power dynamic, guys. Who's in control? You're one guy with an AR-15. If the government is in control, if it's any kind of a, we can look at any other country where there's roadblocks, checkpoints. Now, whoever has the power in that area, they're going to be setting up those roadblocks. They're going to be setting up those checkpoints. You're probably going to get your bag checked. You're probably going to have to run through checkpoints. One guy, you can't fight everybody, right? So you're going to want to use cover and concealment to get to where you're trying to go. And you're going to, if you do get stopped, you don't want to have a bunch of stuff that you have to worry about people wanting or taking from you or wanting to kill you for. If I'm walking there with a plate carrier and imagine I'm just going anywhere that we already talked about, and I have a rifle slung and a plate carrier, somebody's just going to take me out from a distance, right? I could just find a little spot of elevation, a little cover, little separation between an opening and a parking garage, maybe hang a shade cloth that they use for growing, greenhouse type material, and just sit there and pick what I want to pick. So what do I want to do? I want to be that guy that's moving slow, not drawing a lot of unwanted attention. I've got a really bland looking, I don't have any rifle slung, I don't have anything that you want, and I'm just moving in cover, and I move a little bit and I stop and I watch. And I move a little bit and I stop and I watch. And I move from one area. I can see in here right now what I've got in here. So I move in here and I watch and I look and I pick apart and I say, okay, is there any movement over here? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? And that other guy, when he comes across there with all of his fancy stuff, or the guys with their team, and they get into a little skirmish, there I am watching and saying, oh, glad I didn't do that, right? So the tools that they can't take away from you is this stuff in here, guys. Learn everything you can learn, get as good as you can get, and really just try to be squared away, right? The stuff that I have in my bag here, it's not stuff that somebody else is going to want so bad, and if they want it, I can give it up. Why? Because I probably have something stashed somewhere else, because I have, at very least, in here what I need to advance and to preparing to get to the next level. So tools and security is not everything you think it is. You don't have to even have a gun, right? And if you're in a situation where the power dynamic is not in your favor, which is pretty much always everywhere, unless you're an operator and you're working for the people that are in power, if you're a gun for hire and you're working for the people in power and you've got the whole team, right? If you're a military guy, or if you know government guy, or if it's gangs in power, if you're a guy for the gang, those are the only people that want to go the hard target look. And still, that's a dangerous life as well, because there's always somebody faster and there's always somebody tougher. Let's move on to the next location. So we've talked about knowing this bike path here exists. We've talked about knowing where it starts and where it ends. I know that it cuts a swath from east to west across the entire city of St. Petersburg. So I know that if I go one way, I can get to one body of water. If I go the other way, I can get to the other body of water. And I know where I'm at judging by that, right? Those of you who are prepared, for example, if you have the Ultimate Survival Kit that I sell in this bag on my website, you have at least 3 compasses in there, and that's a huge, benefit. Something else you might want to keep in your bag is a local map if the grid goes down. Knowing your area is so important. Knowing where you're going to be at, do a little bit of a study, just try and memorize some key points. I know that there's a stadium over there. I know that this is over here. Like I said, I know this road goes to 2 major bodies of water. Either way that I go, I either hit the Gulf of Mexico or I hit Tampa Bay, right? And if I'm at one or the other, then I know how to get from there through water. I can go by water. If I need to, I can go by land. I know if I hit, this major road over here is, an interstate. I know that goes north and south. So those are my bearings. If I'm not a super prepared individual, then I can use certain things. If I have the skill set to make a compass, magnetize a needle, or I can tell by the way that vegetation grows on the certain sides of where I'm at based on the hemisphere because of the way that the sun passes, or the foliage on trees where they're thicker and heavier, I can, pretty much should be able to tell during the daytime by the movement of the sun, and then at nighttime by the stars, at least the North Star, of which direction I'm going. And then I want to have obviously a little bit of an understanding of where I want to go and what direction it is that I need to go to. So landmarks, and try to be prepared. If not, try to gain the knowledge to where you can carry less gear when you go around and still be okay, right? That's navigation, and navigating is a whole lot more difficult when you're using evasion and escape techniques, because you have to kind of duck into cover, meander, scan like I talked about, and then get out find a point of reference without making yourself like standing out in the open and looking, okay, where's the point of reference? You know what I mean? I kind of want to be, depending on if it's a super urban area, I want to be nonchalant and kind of looking around, but not just walking out into the middle of the road if it's a high threat level, to where I feel like somebody might want to take me out for something that I have, right? So everything has to do with, like we discussed, the being aware of the zone that you're in, the culture, what's going on, the threat level, everything like that. And this is all stuff that hopefully this video will spur you guys on to be mulling through in your mind. It's something that you want to be ruminating on. It's something that you want to think about, stow for later in your subconscious, bring it up again when you get a chance, think about it, put into practice, like I say, situational awareness, the little game, and get out here and see what you can do and see what skills you can become, you know, so that you can brush up on and get better at. So I was actually just kind of walking around, and ended up walking past this place. So it looked really cool. Walked in, and just a pretty cool environment. I wanted to specifically show you guys this because we were talking about the real gray man theory and how it applies to what you're wearing especially. And this is one particular environment where I probably didn't necessarily have exactly the right outfit on. So I wanted to definitely show you guys that. You've utilized the real gray man theory and you've made it out of the city. You've evaded your foes and you've got to where you needed to get by using your brain. Now you're entering the woods, a completely different environment. You're entering a rural environment. You survived the city, you got out of the urban area, and everything changes. The prepared person in this situation may have a bag stashed. They're gonna know the area that they're on their way to. So they're not gonna be surprised about what's around or what the area offers, the terrain, how to get around and be prepared in that rural environment. The prepared person has that nice camouflage outfit ready to go, boonie hat, sun protection, as well as very easily being able to use these little loops right here and take small pieces of foliage, right, and sticking them into these loops in the hat, breaking up the silhouette of the human head and shoulders. Why? Because everything now in this rural environment goes from affecting the perceptions of those around you, camouflage, evasion, subterfuge. Now I'm going to utilize this outfit that I have, the camouflage that I had stashed in my bag, and again, some foliage to break up the line of the human head and shoulders. Reason I'm wearing a hat as well, the eye naturally tends to notice a human being when they have that profile, right? Hopefully I knew whether my environment was hot or cold and I had the right clothes prepped and packed. If not, hopefully the unprepared person at least had light beige, tan, khaki, or light earth tones on, so then I could get into the woods and rub some mud on the clothing and get a little bit of a camouflage breakup pattern to break up that silhouette. The entire art of rural escape and evasion is just an art in and of itself. I have other videos on that. I will do more videos on that. But it basically becomes masking the perception of anybody that could be in your area or any electronic surveillance on all of the senses. So you gotta think about sight, smell, sound, and you just have to minimize your sound signature, sight signature, smell signature, etc. Right? Camouflage is masking or lowering my sight signature, slow movement, lower to the ground, all that stuff. You're gonna want to understand tracking and counter tracking techniques. And if there was a time to break out the long gun or to have a larger weapon, now's the time. Just understand you're behind enemy lines, you're in enemy territory, and those of us who have operated in environments where we have no friends and we've been combatants, or in my case, either private security or a wanted fugitive, you know, being hunted and wanted around the globe, then I understand that if I don't have the power dynamic in my favor in that area and I have that long gun out, then at that point, anytime I have contact means that I'm going to have to use it. And a lot of people may not be prepared. You want to have the gun out, you want to look cool, but that means you have to be willing to be the last man standing and be the only man that survives any kind of encounter you have from that point forward. So just something to consider. In this case, I'm utilizing one camouflage or two camouflages that do well and blend well, and I'm utilizing another camouflage that doesn't blend so well, so I can show you guys the differences here. And what you want to look for in a camo is this kind of a mottled blended color, the colorway, anything around like a multicam, and then the what you want to get furthest away from is anything digital or anything with hard lines. You want to stay away from any kind of blacks and anything shiny, obviously. Just earth tones and no hard lines. And there you guys go. You made it out of the city. Congratulations. Thanks for watching. Bone out. Just on a little side note, I followed a game trail, which is going through right here. I don't know if you guys can note the depression or game trail, to get out to where I'm filming right now. And there's a bunch of deer poop. I saw deer tracks on the way out here. That's deer poop right there. And there's more right here. So this would be a great area if I had to do some surviving to find a game meal. I would want to set up along here at around this time, sun going down, far enough away where my scent wouldn't be an issue, on a weapons platform that I could shoot long enough where I could set up some traps right here and have dinner.